Hey fellas, is Friday the 13th actually scary? Now I know you're thinking something along the lines of, I love Jason, I can't wait to see Jason. And to that, I say, yeah, don't hold your breath. But if you do, make sure this video is on repeat. Friday the 13th walked so that other slashers could walk even slower, but was the influence as scary as the influenced? To find that out, we're gonna have to take a look at the film. So without further ado, fellas and fellettes, my name is Stache, and this is Friday the 13th. We open on a shot of the moon with some campers singing gospel songs in Crystal Lake, 1958. We get our first ever Friday sound. You know the one. Yeah, that, before these two counselors go upstairs to ignore what those gospel songs were saying. I don't see you two leaving room for Jesus. We enter the killer's point of view as they walk in on the counselors. The two try to play it off, but the killer isn't having it and off-screens this guy to death before turning to the girl and freeze-framing her straight into the afterlife. The title card breaks your screen before some very entertaining credits play. After the most intense segment of the movie, we cut to the present day of 1979. A girl named Annie walks into a cafe and asks this guy named Enos if he could drive her to Camp Crystal Lake.
Camp Blood. You're opening that place again?
Yeah, so as that middle-aged lady put so elegantly, Crystal Lake has had a bad rep since the two murders we just saw, so it closed 20 years ago. Annie and some others are the first counselors to return there and are gonna try to reopen it. Annie's gonna try real hard. That is, if she makes it. On their way to Enos's truck, they run into Crazy Ralph, who says that Camp Crystal Lake has a death curse.
It's got a death curse!
Don't interrupt me. Rude. Yeah, get on your bike and get out of here. Annie and Enos also leave, and so do we. We meet Kevin Bacon, his girlfriend Marcy, and his friend Ned, who are introduced with some banjo music. No, I'm not kidding, as they arrive at the camp. They meet their boss, Steve, and their co-workers. This is Bill, Brenda, and Alice. Pay attention to Alice, she'll be important later. What won't be important later is all these slow scenes of characters doing shit. In fact, that's most of this movie. I'll tell you what, if you like watching random people doing random things that go on way too long, this is your movie. After Steve reenacts what my dad did, I'm still waiting for that milk by the way, we cut back to Annie after Enos dropped her off. She tries to get another ride and this Jeep picks her up, but Annie finds out the hard way that this driver isn't as nice as Enos was. No, not at all. Talk about a killer exit. Meanwhile, back at the camp, the counselors have some fun at the lake while we see the killer's POV like we're a TikTok back in 2020. Later, we get some scenes of them really killing some guy's real pet snake, not kidding, before a cop shows up and mentions Ralph from the beginning. It's not important, but it sets up the next scene where Luke Skywalker finds him next to the power converters in the pantry. Yeah, guys, get him out of here. You know what they say about if you give a Ralph a cookie, he'll want to be in the sequel. After Ralph leaves, we enter Fillerville, population, me and you. The only important things that happen are Ned walking into a cabin, Kevin Bacon getting with his girlfriend, and bad weather giving us some shots that I fuck with heavy. At this point, you're probably thinking something like, Stache, my handsome and amazing summarizer, when does this movie get scary? And to that, I answer, soon enough. How soon? Around the time the killer grabs Kevin Bacon from below the bed and stabs an arrow through his neck. I guess you could say this bacon's cooked. Oh, also Ned said. As Marcy is axe murdered, the others are playing Monopoly when Brenda notices the rain and rushes back to her cabin. She hears a voice call out for help and follows it only to realize that she's in the middle of an archery range. Before she knows it, she is killed in the most brutal way possible. Getting off screen to death, motherfucker. Speaking of things being off screen, you guys remember Steve? After literal hours, his bum ass is still at a diner. He tries to get back to camp, but we see out of the killer's eyes as they confront him.
Hi. What are you doing out in this mess?
And he recognizes the killer. There's no time for reunions though because the killer hates neglectful bosses. Justice for the working class. After some time goes on, Alice and Bill go looking for Brenda in her cabin, but they only find a bloody axe tucked in all cozy.
What is going on?
What's going on? Alice, that's what you ask when your DoorDash is late. You just found a murder weapon, girl. Why are you so chill? They investigate further and can't find anyone. They try to call for help, but we get this shot that I fuck with heavy to show that the phone line is dead. Everything's dead. This car, the power, their friends. Why is there horror in my filler movie? Bill runs off to fix the power generator, and later Alice goes to help him but finds Bill pincushioned to the door, proving why Hawkeye deserved to be on the Avengers. Alice freaks out, runs back to the cabin and barricades herself inside, but Brenda's body crashes the party and falls to the floor. Brenda, you're drunk. Go home. No one likes a lightweight, so Alice freaks out more as a strangely familiar Jeep pulls up. She thinks that it's Steve and goes out to ask for help, but it's not him. It's... Who are you?
Well, I'm Mrs. Voorhees.
Oh, okay. As long as you're not the killer or anything. Alice tells her what happened, and Miss Voorhees goes to investigate. Miss V finds Brenda's body and goes into a rant about how bad things happen at Camp Crystal Lake. Things like the drowning of her son, Jason Voorhees.
Oh my God!
That's right. Mrs. Voorhees is Jason Voorhees' mom. How do they write this stuff? Miss Voorhees gets more and more aggressive as she keeps talking, eventually leading her to blame all camp counselors for Jason's death. All counselors, including Alice and her friends. So yeah, Mrs. Voorhees reveals that she was the killer, meaning that the big bad guy of this whodunit horror movie was the unseen mother of the unseen child who drowned off screen decades ago and was mentioned in a throwaway line once, like 5 minutes into the movie. Ms. V gets so worked up with the lazy writing that she draws a knife and charges at Alice, but Alice fights back and runs away. During her run, she finds a bunch of bodies as Mama Voorhees chases after her while talking to herself.
Don't let her get away, Mommy. Don't let her live. I won't, Jason. I won't.
Become the most forgettable horror villain ever, Mommy. I will, Jason. I will. The power comes back on as Miss V catches up and beats the shit out of her until Alice hits her with the uppercutter slam before running away again. The two run around a bunch until Alice ends up chilling on the beach. Miss Voorhees tries to sneak attack her with a machete that she pulled out of her literal asshole, but Alice parries it with an oar. They scuffle a bunch until Alice is able to break away and steal Miss V's machete to decapitate her, ending her reign of terror once and for all. Alice celebrates her victory by getting in a boat and floating into the middle of the lake. She dozes off and wakes up in the morning to some shots that I fuck with heavy as the cops show up just in time to miss everything. And she lived happily ever after. Or not. So she gets attacked and dragged underwater by little boy Jason's ghost that can't miss past. Did she just die? Oh, okay, good, just checking. Doctors rush in to comfort her as she asks about the little boy who grabbed her, but the cop tells her that there was no little boy. Alice realizes that the J-Man is still out there as we see some bubbles from under the lake, and that's it. Overall, the classic Friday the 13th is a very interesting movie. It's overrated. It's not bad, but nothing happens. If Annie and those other bozos didn't die, the first hour of this movie could be the pilot to one of those shitty sitcoms that come on at like 2 a.m. It's like Friends. Call this movie the one at the camp, and it'd be the same in both terms of quality and humor, because they're both shit. It's very slow and sometimes boring, but it's not awful. The gore and makeup are very impressive, and also set the precedent for all Friday the 13th films after it, which really helped establish the series as one of the pillars of horror. The Friday the 13th franchise is known for over-the-top kills, but most of the deaths in this movie either aren't very creative or are off-screen. We do see most of them afterward, so that makes up for it a little bit. Also, that Kevin Bacon arrow through the bed kill is and always will be a masterpiece. But other than the gore in the last half hour, this horror movie has no horror. This movie's like the fidget spinner of the horror genre. It's cool, but it doesn't do shit. It's all hype, no delivery. So when it comes to whether or not it's scary, I'd have to lean towards no. It's not scary. Sure, it's iconic, and I like the whodunit aspect, but there's dozens of other movies that do the same thing, just better. Hell, some of them are in this very franchise. So taking all that into account, 1980's Friday the 13th gets a 68 out of 100 on the Stache-ometer. In mustache terms, that's pretty patchy, but it's not the worst. It's just pretty close. They killed a guy's pet on screen. Give me a break. No matter the rating, this movie's iconic. It's pretty much the horror movie. So I think that it's worth a watch. After all, it's the only movie I could think of that shows the danger that is middle-aged moms. Okay, fun fact. This is one of 2 Friday the 13th movies to actually have campers in it. The only other Friday film to have young kids in it was Part 6. The campers could be seen in the opening, where they are gathered around listening to gospel songs. And if you like gathering around and listening to things, you should press that subscribe button. I'm no preacher, but I do talk a lot, so you should stick around. Seriously though, press those buttons below. If you made it this far, you either liked the video, or you had to run away from a sweater-wearing, live, laugh, love wielding woman, and haven't found the time to click off it yet. Either way, subscribe for more. You know, I covered this movie because it holds a special place in my heart. The Friday the 13th films are some of my favorite horror movies ever. They helped introduce me to the genre, and I'll forever be grateful for that. I may be a little biased towards this movie, but hey, whatever. As of the time I'm recording this, Friday the 13th hasn't gotten a sequel in almost 20 years. That breaks my heart a little, but I have hope for the future. But if one more person gets off-screen to death, I swear I'm throwing haymakers. If a new one comes out, maybe I'll cover it one day. But until our next outing to Crystal Lake, hold on to your heads, stay off those archery ranges, and comment your thoughts down below. I'll see you next time. Stache out.